Hello and good morning, survivors of non-consensual human experimentation and targeting, and all the rest of YouTube. Good morning. Captain Stardate, December 10th, 2018. This is your boy. This is your boy Kyle, aka Vulcan Wolverine. And I wanted to go ahead and finish up reading this Psyops, from Psyops to Neuro War. I think that's what it's called. From Psyops to Neuro War, what are the dangers? I did a live stream where I was reading it. I meant to do something else in the live stream, and I think that when I do a live stream and I just read things, it gets kind of boring. So I think when I'm gonna read an article, like a long article, I'll probably just do it like this, so y'all can look at my goofy face, my beautiful mustache, which I've been upkeeping pretty good. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and finish this up. And this, I guess it was a presentation at a certain seminar in Austin, Texas, and I'm gonna actually call the guy who did this presentation because he talks about the non-consensual human experimentation in a kind of theoretical way. Like, if they were going to do this, they probably wouldn't tell anybody because it would be very unethical. I think I might just go ahead and read that again. But I also have something important that I found out about this, and it's something that other targeted individuals have talked about. But I think there's more extensive ways for us to defend using direct cranial stimulation. There's a lot of devices that have come out, like this thing called the Focus for gamers to make people more focused and things like that. And that's probably actually, I mean, I think we can say it's 100% technology trickle, like it trickled out due to this non-consensual experimentation on us, on targeted individuals, since the 1950s. But a lot more people are being targeted, in the current year, and after 2001, many more people were grabbed in to be targeted. But that people have been targeted by this technology and gang stalking for many more years before 2001 and before now. But let me see if I can go up and find that part real quick. I wasn't going to talk about how I'm doing today, because I'm not doing good. I'm not doing good at all. But I am alive, and now is the time to fight. Now is definitely the time to fight. I hung out with my mom, my dad, yesterday on Sunday, and I was kind of talking about this. I was just telling my mom how I'd found that method of grounding that really helps. It helps with the pulse pain in my nervous system from remote neural manipulation. And she told me the place that she works at in Florida, I think she had mentioned it to one of her coworkers, and her coworker's like a mom and has like 5 kids and a family, and her coworker was like, "Yeah, that's definitely happening." So I kind of just took that as, people are really finding out about this stuff. I really think that there's a lot of things that the targeted individual community are doing that are going to get us to victory, to get us to stop this program. It's very, very important that all of us put information out, that all of us fight ignorance, because ignorance is the way that this program continues. Ignorance is its biggest strength, to keep going. And I think we've got to think about all the good people in the world who would fight alongside of us, that would fight this. They don't have anything in their face that forces them to fight with us. They may hear about it and it's like, oh, well, I see that on social media or something like that, and it could be true, but it doesn't spur them on to fight, to do activism, to speak out against this. So the more information that we get out there, it'll get those good people in society that don't want this going on. It'll put something right in their face where they have to deal with it. And of course, there's way more angles to all this non-ionizing microwave radiation and directed energy with 5G, and just microwave towers and cell phone towers actually causing cancer in kids and citizens and stuff like that. Let me see if I can find this part. Let's see. 'Cause, 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 'C Yeah, okay. This is the part that I just kind of wanted to read from last time because it's very telling. So he says the aforementioned National Research Council report suggests the neurotechnology degradation market segment is completely underground with only speculative information available. Now, what they mean by degradation market, they mean neuroweapons to degrade people, to hurt mental abilities, to hurt the brain, to hurt the nervous system, to cause trauma, to control people in awful ways, like what targeted individuals are going through. Um, the report stresses this cognitive weapons market does exist. It does exist. The National Research Council in the United States and other countries have organizations like this. They admit that this cognitive weapons market does exist. This neuroweapons market does exist. Accredited foundations and these councils admit that this exists, but it's underground. It's kept secret for national security reasons, right? And as targeted individuals, we already know that. So he says, there are obvious reasons why governments tend to keep this kind of research very secret. Any neuroscience research that even remotely sounds like mind control research carries a social stigma, and it should. Researchers and government agencies do not want to be associated with that label. Then this next part is the most important part because it can tell people who are not targeted individuals why this is kept secret and why you have so many people on YouTube and so many people making organizations crying out for help for targeted individuals. Because we are being experimented on, we are being traumatized. It's murder every day. It's really horrible pain every day. The research most likely requires ethically controversial human experimentation. And it does, because targeted individuals are speaking out about that. So that's hardcore, factual, foundational evidence. This is going on. And there's lots more. There's a lot more evidence, hardcore evidence. This is not a theory. My mom kind of said, oh, well, she believes in that conspiracy theory too when she was talking about the person at work. And I was like, it's not a conspiracy theory. Don't use that word. Don't use that word. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy fact that people are being murdered. And I think when people are being murdered by neuroweaponry and tortured, and some people are committing suicide because it's so painful, we need to take that word conspiracy theory and move it away and move it out of the picture. So the research most likely requires ethically controversial human experimentation, which it does, and we speak about that. So many targeted individuals are speaking out about it, which could not pass the muster of ethics reviews. And finally, the effectiveness of some approaches might be substantially reduced if adversaries had knowledge of them and thus could employ effective countermeasures. And that's, on the last video I said, that's the importance, one of the reasons it's so important to get information out. Then we have a better chance of defending our lives. So let me go down to the part where I'll continue reading again. And I kind of need to take a drink of my energy drink. My body's just shaking. My attackers, I'm trying to figure it out because the grounding's working, but last night they got through. I had all the straps on, none of them slid off, and they still, pulsed pain through my back. But the tinnitus-like sound was way different. Like I usually have the tinnitus-like sound, and it's kind of just a high-pitched, not a whistle, but a high-pitched kind of sizzling sound. And the high-pitched last night when I was feeling pain in my back, was more like a it's hard to describe, but it was more like a whistling sound. It was more like wind blowing sound. It was different than usual. So they're trying to adapt to what I'm doing. Now when I'm awake and I'm sitting up because the blood flow is not all restricted to like my head, the grounding is still working perfectly. I don't have pain in my back or anything. But when Dave Case's CD did go off, they did get some really bad pulsing pain in my back. So I'm trying to figure out how I can switch things up to stop them from that. They might have just gotten lucky, with a certain frequency. Hold on one second, guys. And I hope all you guys are doing well out there. I hope that you're looking forward to Christmas and spending time with your families and your loved ones. For me, it's kind of bittersweet. I get to spend time with my family, but they live in a different reality. Most of my the most important family members, like my parents, they do believe me. They just don't know what to do, but they are helping me. I mean, that's why I live in a condo, because I have my mom and dad's help, to pay for this along with my disability. So they really have helped me through this whole thing, and just helped me by teaching me, what to do in life, how to react to things, to do the right thing. And even though at first they thought I was clinging on to a delusion, now they don't believe that. But even though at first they thought that I was clinging on to a delusion, they had taught me in my life to do what was right and to speak out when something's wrong. And so they've helped me way more in this than I think that they think they have, which is kind of heartwarming. There are some heartwarming things that come out of this, and we need to appreciate what we can in life. Because we have a lot left. These people have not taken everything from us. We still are ourselves. We still have our souls. We still have the spirit of us. And we still have people that love us and that would fight with us and that are fighting with us. So we got to hold on to those things. So hold on one second. And from this article, or from this presentation, I found out another really, really good idea that I'm going to be delving into, and experimenting with certain things, because I think direct cranial stimulation, like good positive frequencies, it can very much interfere with what they're doing, alongside of like Dave Case's CD, grounding, supplements, cleansing, everything like that, then passive shielding. So it's another thing. And Mike Mason, like I went to his calls, started going to his calls, I think like 5 years ago or something like that, and he talked about I can't remember it right now. Oh gosh, it's hard to remember things, but it's basically something. It's like biofeedback with kind of with stimulation to the body. And I can't remember what the device was called. I'll remember it later. But it's kind of like that, but I think that we can find something more specific, and we can find specific frequencies to counter the frequencies that they're sending around our head to get to our nervous system and our brain. If we can put something on our head or something like that and produce positive frequencies on our cranium, it could really just screw up what they're doing, because they're sending a bidirectional stream of energy. So if we can encase our head in this positive counter frequency, it could be a huge step, guys. A lot of you, maybe some of you guys have tried this kind of thing. Maybe I'm behind on it, but I'm gonna be ordering some of them, or seeing if seeing what I can afford, and really trying to get the best one. If any of you guys have any ideas, please contact me by email, vulcanwolverine@gmail.com, and I'm gonna be trying to just talk about it as much as I can. Along with the other defensive methods. I think this could be crucial though, because it could put counter frequencies like Dave Case's CD kind of, but it could put direct frequencies to our skull, which Dave Case's CD kind of does through the ears. It hits the nerves in the ears and stuff like that, causes vibrations around the head with the sounds. This may be, to add it to that, to add something like that to Dave Case's CD could be monumental. Could stop them. I mean, it could stop them. So I want to say, like, if you ever hear anybody saying, like a targeted individual saying, there's nothing that can beat this and it's advanced technology and, nothing, forget that. Throw that out. Throw that out. This is new technology. There's so many ways to defeat this technology. There's so many defensive. Throw that out. If you hear anybody saying this is too advanced, they adapt to anything, blah, 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 we don't know enough about this. My attackers don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't know what the fuck they're even. It's like they're using the internet. It's like me using the internet. I don't know how it works. I don't know how it's coming to my computer. That's what our attackers are doing. They may know like little bits of what they're doing, but they don't know about frequencies and stuff. It's all automated at this point and mass produced. So when you hear somebody saying there's only this many ways to defend or something like that. And I guess I don't want to pick on Brian too, because he has tons of good information, but he does say there's only 4 methods, to defend against this, and then jamming is way too expensive. Throw that out. Like, Brian too has a lot of great information. We talk. I love Brian too, but on that he is wrong. There's so many more ways. There's more ways coming to defend, and I'm going to be trying this direct cranial stimulation. And I don't mean to pick on Brian too. He has a lot of good information. He's fighting really hard. But we all kind of take our information, the solid information from like Robert Duncan, John Hall, information from contractors, the information that I'm finding, and we have to theorize a little bit, and so our theories are going to be different on some of the further information on about how to stop this and things like that. And I have experienced things that have totally changed this and totally weakened my attackers' abilities to hurt me, and there's more to come. So that's a lot of hope, guys. Please take that. That's that is so true. And don't listen to people who say you can't defend this stuff, Now is the time to fight. Now is the time to fight, if it ever has been. Okay. Oh, like my back hurts so bad, like the middle of my back, and it makes my it makes it hard to talk sometimes. I'm like, but y'all love me, so you'll bear with it. And I've got to get this information out. I got to keep going. I'll beat this. We'll beat this. We'll beat this thing. We are stronger than this thing, and we will have victory because we are good people, and we are doing the right thing, and we will have victory no matter what happens. No matter what happens with this. If you stay true to yourself, and you stay true to helping people, and stay true to being a real human being, which our attackers have already lost. They've lost being human beings. They are not human. Killing human beings at random, torturing human beings 24 hours a day. We win already. We win already. But we can win even more, Okay, so information software-based neuroweapons. Not all neuroweapons need to be of a physical nature. Some might just consist of information that is designed to manipulate behavior, or it could be software that hacks neural devices or implanted chips. DARPA has within its Biological Technologies Office a neuroscience-based project called Narrative Networks, which aims to understand how narratives influence human cognition and behavior, and apply those findings in international security contexts. The context to national security is to understand why certain narratives are believed and others not, and how narratives can support terrorism. A good narrative to study is targeting of targeted individuals. Why do people not believe in the narrative that people are being experimented on by these weapons and are being tortured and things like that? The people who it's happening to definitely believe it. Some people who have studied deeper, who are not directly targeted, they do believe it. But regular people, a lot of them don't believe the narrative because another narrative has been put forth, an opposing narrative of this is mental illness, this is delusion. And some mental illnesses like schizophrenia do have certain parallels with this, or the appearance of having parallels with this. So that conflicting narrative makes people say, oh, well, I believe that conflicting narrative. I don't believe the actual true narrative. So, I mean, we can use that as an example of why people don't believe some narratives, why they do believe some narratives. Usually if something is out in the mainstream news, something out in the mainstream news, even if it's a lie, people believe it because the mainstream news said it. And thank God we're getting away from that. Thank God that people can start to see through that. I mean, even my father, who completely believed the mainstream news because of Trump's presidency. He's seen how much they lie, and they just make up things sometimes about Trump that's not even true, and so he's seeing how the media is actually very propagandized. So people that don't like Trump, you need to see that a lot of good has come out of his being president. A lot of people are opening their eyes to the deep state. A lot of people are opening their eyes to how media lies. Okay, I'm getting way off there. Let me continue reading because I've got a long way to go with this information. Let's let's see. So, computer model. Okay, the use methods include research into how the brain responds to certain narratives and the development of computer models of how narratives affect individuals in social networks. Such research can be used to make propaganda or psychological operations more effective, or to undermine the propaganda of an adversary, which I guess they consider targeted individuals an adversary, the military-industrial complex, because they want to continue with the experimentation. So when like Ella put those billboards up, getting a bunch of people involved and putting up billboards. They put some up in Canada, and then a bunch of mainstream news articles, I think from a smaller magazine or an online magazine, came out saying how the billboards are dangerous because it's going to strengthen people's delusion. That's undermining the truth propaganda, because targeted individuals have propaganda. We have truth propaganda, like the truth is our propaganda, and then they combat it with false articles about mental illness and mass hysteria and everything like that. And I'm just using those as examples because it has to do with targeted individuals. I'm sure there's many other examples. Military information support operations already intersect with cybersecurity and cyber operations because of the existence of online communities and social networks through which information spreads and through which people can be influenced. Once neural devices are more commonly used and are connected to computers, they could be hacked like any other piece of electronics. The difference being that it is not just the correct functioning of an external device that is at stake, but also the functioning of the minds of users. A hacker of neural device could alter brainwaves, moods, mental state, and capacity of the user, and might even take control of the user's body through BCI to perform an unintended action, which is happening with targeted individuals, only it's a direct hack to the brain. Now there are implants that may be in us, nanoparticulates, nanotechnology and things like that, biofilm on our skin, things that catalyze that the directed energy weapons effects on our body and our body's ability to absorb those things. Excuse me, guys. I needed to make this video today. I'm gonna do. I know I can't make the live streams fun, really. I mean, but I'm gonna do some other things, because I think that, like, I did the last live stream and I was just reading this, and I think people get kind of bored. So I'm gonna try and figure out something, maybe to not make it fun, but more interactive. Because I want people. We kind of need to, God, and this is a shitty way to say it. We need to get excited about this, and I'm not even sure what I mean by that, but we've gotta make a way for us to not just see this information in the activism as work, as trudging, like, oh my God, nobody's gonna believe this, and they don't believe us, and it's like a like a sad thing, when you're putting information out. It's like you're a Jew in the Holocaust concentration camp, listening to the radio to get good news, or maybe if they could have sent out information. It's like that. It's like a sad thing. We're gonna have to find new ways to of our perception to make it fun. Maybe competition. I was thinking of this. This is just a thought, because I was watching one of I can't remember his name now, and he's somebody I watch all the time. Shane Gibbs. I was thinking, like, maybe we could have competitions between countries, like who can do the most activism, or have a specific event between countries and see who can get more people to show up, or something like that. Ideas like that, where we bring in competition, we bring in I don't want to say games or anything like that. And I've talked to some people who do conference calls about this, but to make it more entertaining, and that's a horrible word, but we've got to find a way to get more people involved, to get more people excited about doing activism or putting out information. I think one way that just naturally happens is, like, more information's getting out and we're getting more hope. And I don't think that should be a time for people to be like, okay, it's being taken care of and something's going to happen. That's when you jump in. That's when you jump in to push, because the carts are rolling, you know. That's just a thought that popped out of my head. You know, different ways to get more people involved, but not necessarily making it more entertaining. Those things just kind of go through my mind. Um, okay. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are thinking of ideas, and, you know, people are making movies about this, which that gang stalking movie came out in November. So I'm going to look for that. I have not seen it. I'm going to look for that and see what I can find on it. Said it was coming out in theaters. Okay, I think this is where I was. Military information support operations already intersect with cybersecurity and cyber operations because of the existence of online communities and social networks. I already read this. Through which information spreads and through which people can be influenced. Once neural devices, oh gosh, I read all of this. Performing an unintended action. Such hacking of a neural device and thus a user could even permanently rewire the brain of the user or brainwash them. Less technologically sophisticated methods of mind hacking are imaginable. Malicious software might attack the minds of users by manipulating the flicker rate of the monitor and by displaying subliminal messages on the screen that cannot be consciously perceived. TV already does that. Movies already do that. You know, it's been doing that since like whenever TV came out, they were doing subliminal messaging. Although the effectiveness of subliminal messages has been often dismissed, neuroscientists have found indications that subliminals do work in the sense of somewhat affecting the behavior of people who have been exposed to them. Yeah, and I would say that's definitely true, because with our targeting, we have NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. Not only some people experience it in gang stalking, but I experience it like when I sleep and maybe when I'm awake, things that I can't hear from the V2K, like subliminals that are going through to my subconscious mind. Now, I think that my attackers try and solidify it with V2K because the main guy, or the modified voice of the main guy, because I think there's different shifts, goes, I'm tired. They say that a lot. They say I'm tired, and I think they're also putting that through my subconscious, so I will feel tired. There's a lot of things like that. They also say in V2K, no one's listening to you. Like, no one cares. Like, after I make a video, I'll be thinking about the video, and the V2K audibly, the guy will be like, nobody's listening to you. Nobody cares. And I think they also do that in NLP, because when I first started making these videos, I was like, man, this is a big deal. Whoever gets out, even if it's like one person who has some clout or one person who has a great idea, I'm making a difference. And I felt that way. I felt that way in my head. I still feel that way in my heart, but sometimes in my head I'm like, man, I've been making these videos for so long, nobody's listening. And that's like not me. That's not me, because I know even the smallest action can change things. That's from my programming. And so I fight it. It's artificial, but it still feels bad when it happens, even though it's artificial. Okay, so threats and challenges. I think this is where he's talking. Well, I'll just read it and see what he's talking about instead of guessing what he's going to talk about. Oh. Like, this is like the left side of my back. It felt like my back was broken, and I felt down, and none of them had slipped off. And so I'm going to try it again tonight. They may have just gotten lucky. They may be switching the frequency up so that it can't ground out. It may be more of a microwave frequency passing through the body and less electrical. I don't know, because I think it'd have to be an electromagnetic signal to go to, like our regular, like when you feel pain, that pain signal goes from the brain then to your extremities then to the point of pain. So I think it has to really, it has to be like that signal. But it's still working when I'm up. That's the first night I've experienced something like that, and it's been, I don't know, you guys tell me when I did that video. I think it's been about a month or a month and a half since I did the grounding thing, maybe shorter time, but it's worked perfectly for a long time. And now I'm seeing that they have kind of adapted somewhat. They can adapt somewhat, but we can buy time, and then we can combine things. Like Dave Case's CD and the grounding has been like a phenomenal combination because it weakens the signal. Then the weakened signal can be grounded out. Um, I don't know. There's some other changes in my life that may have to do with it, um, but I don't know. And I don't want to. I may talk about those in a later video. Is certain medication changes and stuff that I don't really want to talk about that right now. Well, I'll tell y'all. Like I've started to. I kind of want to save that for another video, but one of them is I've started to take half of an Ativan, so 0.5 milligrams of Ativan a day, because I feel like I'm less foggy. Like I feel like I'm more myself when I'm not taking so much Ativan, like 1 milligram a day, because it kind of dulls the nervous system, but it also kind of dulls the mind a little bit. And so I wanted to do a half and maybe get off of it completely. So, and that also kind of makes the nervous system a little bit more open for my attackers. So it may be that shift. Yeah, but I'll tell y'all about that on another video. It's not anything that big of a deal. Okay, threats and challenges. The term neuro-warfare has been in use for several years to broadly describe the military utilization of neuroscience and technology. Neuroscience and technology. I mean, like everybody who's not targeted, they're talking about this. The DoD's talking about it. Like organizations are talking about it. Science journals are talking about it. Everybody's talking about it. And then something like the Cuban embassy attack and the China consulate attack happened, and nobody says, is this neurotechnology or neuroscience? Is this not neuroweapons? Nobody? I mean, that's propaganda. That's trying to hide something that society talks about. With TIs, nobody's like, hey, is this neuroweapons? I mean, this is what the military-industrial complex talks about. But those things are separated. It's just that they're separated when they need to be. Whenever people with a lot of money who are hurting people need those things to be separated. So let's all connect the dots, like for everything, not just targeted individuals, but for everything. Those dots are there to connect. That nothing is hidden in society. I think there's this delusion that there are things that are hidden from society because certain people don't believe in them. But the truth is out there. I wish I had the X-Files music play. Let me clean my glasses real quick, guys. Oh. Okay. From the current literature, 3 different aspects of neuro-warfare can be distinguished. Neuro-warfare is neuro-enhancement of own personnel that allows them to perform better in terms of their cognitive abilities and decision-making. Number 2, neuro-warfare is getting inside the heads of enemies for interrogation and strategic intelligence using neuroscience and technology. And 3, neuro-warfare as neuroscience and technology enabled methods for influencing enemy behavior much more directly than mere Psyops. And I mean, that's the last 2. I think all three they are experimenting with on innocent civilians. I think that just the civilians who are getting enhancements that they don't know about, they're not saying anything because they're like, hey, that's me. That's all me. With us, it's very apparent because we were good people that could think clearly and didn't have V2K, like didn't have microwave hearing, so it's pretty obvious, Okay, the ongoing academic debate on the potential future role of neuroscience and technology has already led some commentators to suggest that brains are becoming the new battlegrounds, and that's definitely true for more than just directly targeted people like us. The mind or neurospace could soon emerge as a new, distinct, and most likely final domain of warfare after land, sea, air, outer space, and cyberspace. The most basic idea behind attacking the minds of enemies is very old. It has been first formulated by Sun Tzu, who pointed out that to subdue the enemy without fighting is the acme of skill. I guess acme is the best. It's the best thing of skill. Similarly wrote Psyops specialist Paul E. Valley and Michael Aquino, a noted Satanist, that wars are fought and won or lost not on battlefields but in the minds of men. All warfare is ultimately aimed at forcing the own will on the enemy and manipulating the enemy into accepting defeat and terminating hostilities. In the words of Richard Safransky, the object of war is quite simply to force or encourage the enemy to make what you assert is a better choice, or to choose what you desire the enemy to choose. So it makes sense to direct most efforts and resources towards the psychological manipulation of the enemy instead of towards the physical destruction of things and the killing of people, which are really secondary to the subjugation of the enemy's will. And you have a lot of propaganda from the mainstream media, a lot of things, that the general populace that may not be directly targeted goes through to subdue them and to make them choose what the military-industrial complex wants them to choose. Like after 9/11, which would be considered a psyop to me, a false flag psyop. Then they got the public to crave war, to want to go to war with the Middle East, Afghanistan, to go look for Osama bin Laden. By that psyop, that false flag, they influenced the minds of, I don't know if they consider the American people the enemy now. It seems to be a conclusion that I think some people could get to. I mean, they're murdering me and my family and hurting us without my parents knowing that they're being attacked and just, trying to destroy my life. So are the American people now the enemy of these agencies, to control them and not to really help them or defend them in the right ways, but to defend them the way that they want, to control them and control their actions? So it's heavy stuff. I see why people like that aren't targeted don't want to delve into it, because life's already so hard. I won't go into that, but if this goal could be accomplished through the technical manipulation of an enemy's brain, which is responsible for our perceptions, emotions, and thinking, no violence would be necessary at all. Only the violence that invading a person's brain and nervous system creates, which is worse than murder. So, I mean, that doesn't even make sense. Oh, God. Any power that could master mind control technology would have achieved a far greater advantage than simply having a nuclear bomb while others have not. At the same time, the use of neuroweapons against entire societies would be much more acceptable than the use of nuclear weapons. As a result, nations will be interested in developing not only neuroweapons, but maybe also dedicated neuro-warfare forces and doctrine. It is still hard to imagine how cognitive forces could look like and how they could engage each other in a hypothetical neurospace, where there is only virtuality, digital worlds, or pure consciousness, yet the manifestations and artifices of such combat occur in the realm of the material. However, there are obvious threats and challenges that either on the horizon or are already a major concern, and that's the one that's true. This is already a major concern. And how this plays out, I can tell you one way. As targeted individuals, y'all know about this, but I have attackers. I can hear voice to skull that sounds like it's coming from, I guess that's my left side over there. So I can kind of hear them, and they're like, the guy will be like, we got to do this, turn it up. And then I'll get the high pitched sound in my ears, which is constant. And then like certain visuals that are not mine will pop in there. So that's how the neurospace kind of works. Wars in the neurospace or in the material world. I'm trying to think of just so many examples. Like I used to go through the details of my targeting, but now it's this thing about it being 24 hours a day, and if it's going on for years and years and years, that now I see things that are, if I talk about this to people who are not targeted, and it sounds like so sci-fi and just incredible, but to me it's like an everyday experience, and so I leave out some important aspects sometimes. Now, I didn't at the beginning. At the beginning of my targeting, I was like, wow, because it was, so spectacular to me. But now it's just like, okay, oh, remote neural manipulation. Oh, somebody's visual coming in there. Okay, I got to think about something else. Oh yeah, they're making me depressed. I'm feeling really depressed. Okay, well I'll take some supplements to try and feel a little bit better, or go outside, or listen to Dave Case's CD. Um, this None of this should be commonplace. I mean, okay. My head really hurts today. I'm having a hard time thinking of stuff, if y'all can't tell. But I'm gonna keep going here. I want to get this. I want to get this article because this is very important. I have some other things that I'm thinking of too. I can kind of think. Just a little bit. I can think a little bit. I was watching a bunch of YouTube videos about, the Infinity War movie. They're coming out with a new one. It's going to be called Endgame in May. I love Marvel movies, even though it's Disney. I know, and Disney has so much money, and a lot of people say a lot of things about them, which I kind of agree with. But I love Marvel. I grew up with Marvel, and I was watching one video. It was like, I don't know, they talk a lot about Thanos, whether he was right or not, because he kills off 50% of all life in the universe. But I kind of want to make a video about this because nobody's talking about it. But they show in the movie, and spoiler alert for people who haven't seen it, but I think a lot of you guys, if you do like that stuff, you've already seen it. If you don't, you don't care. At the end of the movie, when all the people are like disintegrating into dust, Spider-Man dies. Spider-Man disintegrates into dust. And I was thinking today, Thanos was obviously wrong. I mean, I thought that, when it happened, he's obviously a villain. Depopulation is obviously wrong, but it showed that so much with Spider-Man turning into dust. Because, okay, more resources in the universe or whatever, which I don't even think it works that way, but he kills Spider-Man, who would save millions and millions of life in the future. And that's what I think about programs like this that are involved in depopulation. And I think that movie, what Thanos does, is kind of preconditioning. I think it's very much. I forget what that's called. I forget a lot of things, but it's showing, though. It kind of shows that it's totally wrong. And just like our situation, these people who are attacking me, they could give a damn, and they're like, well, we're going to sacrifice this guy and sacrifice his family, for the greater good and for technology or whatever, if they have those highfalutin beliefs. But it's wrong because you don't know, we could, all of us that are being targeted, we're kind of like Spider-Man. You don't know what lives we're going to affect for the good or what we're going to do. So it's obviously wrong, to just depopulate on a lottery system basis because you don't know what those people are going to do in the future. That was just kind of a thought I was having this morning. But I haven't seen anybody talking about that. But that's like, I think the directors really did that on purpose. He was like one of the last ones shown to turn into dust, and it was to show that Thanos was wrong. That you can't just kill people based on a lottery system and have it be good for the universe because you're killing Spider-Man. Maybe the directors didn't mean to do that, and I just saw that. But I don't know. I love those movies. They give me something to focus on other than this. Because I woke up and I was just like, I couldn't catch my breath and my back was just sore, and I just started watching YouTube, videos on the new, and a new teaser trailer came out for Infinity War Endgame, so I'm pretty excited about that. Just need to stay alive just to see that. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, let me continue. Misuse. That's a very important category here. I might shave soon too. I know I'm looking pretty ruggedly handsome. I do notice that somebody on the conference calls, he always makes fun of my mustache. And when I grow a beard, my mustache gets a lot bigger, and you can see it more. than the rest. I never noticed it before he started saying something. I hate that guy. Okay. Misuse. All technology can be used for good and bad. That's true. While neuroscience and technology that enhances warfighters allows us to understand enemies better and to incapacitate them without need for violence might be considered as a part of a humanitarian progress in warfare, the very same technology also allows for dangerous scenarios if it was misused, which it is now, which targeted individuals are all talking about. There are also troubling questions about the non-military use of neuroweapons. For example, in a domestic, national security, or law enforcement context, which they are, which that's happening. That's happening right now. Targeted individuals are talking about it, and other people are talking about it. One of the more troubling questions is the use of neuroscience and technology for the forced treatment of the mentally ill, the criminal, and maybe other social deviants. But if they're going to do that, what would stop them from lying about the people that they're doing it to? Because that's what they say about targeted individuals. They say we're mentally ill. They say we're dangerous. They say maybe we're terrorists. That's how they get communities to gang stalk us, is by telling lies about us. So if they do use it for that, for only criminals, the mentally ill, and the dangerous people, what's to keep them from just lying about it, about innocent citizens? Because that's what they're doing. So, all right, let me just go on with it. This idea is old. The psychiatrist Robert Switchable proposed back in the 1960s a machine that can continuously locate criminals and that could potentially alter their mental states. Terrorists might be electronically neutered so that they can be released into society, which would be cheaper than indefinite detainment, but also creates a host of ethical and legal issues, and the fact that they could just say anybody's a terrorist and use it on them, which is what they're doing with TIs. I don't know if they call us all terrorists, but they definitely say negative stuff about us to our communities that we live in, and to the FISA courts, which allow them to do this. A major concern is that innocent civilians might be abused for testing new neuroweapons on them, and that concern is right here, and all the targeted individuals watching this, and all the targeted individuals. So I wonder if he knows about it. I'm going to find out too, because I'm calling him. I don't know if I'll call him today. I might call him tomorrow, because I'll be tired after I make this video. So, blah, blah, blah. A major concern is that innocent civilians might be abused for testing new neuroweapons on them. Bing, 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 bing. Jackpot. That's happening. Although Jonathan Moreno does not believe that such illegal experimentation could be currently occurring in the United States, he has acknowledged that some human experimentation will be necessary to develop future neuroweapons. Well, Jonathan Moreno doesn't know much, because it is happening, and maybe he was talking about maybe the next day after he said that, but it's been happening since 1950. After 2001, it ramped up like exponentially, pulling in targeted individuals, so it's definitely going on. And see, okay, that's a point A to point B. These people who have studied neuroweapons, they say, well, if we're going to advance it, if they're going to advance neuroweapons, there's going to have to be some unethical human experimentation, right? So put that on one hand. People who know about neuroweapons, they're saying there's going to have to be unethical, non-consensual human experimentation to advance the weapons. There's no other way. And then, on the other hand, put together reality, what targeted individuals are saying. They're saying that they're being experimented on something that's messing with their brain, messing with their nervous system, microwaves, electromagnetic frequencies. Put together the fact that neuroweapons are being advanced, that neuroweapons and directed energy weapons are being advanced, and they're saying to advance them, there's going to have to be unethical human experimentation. Put those points together, and it's just obvious. It's an obvious thing, an obvious fact that's happening in the world, and people need to listen closer to targeted individuals. This is a good paper. And I'm going to call this guy. He has acknowledged that because a new generation of weapons is being developed that are intended to incapacitate rather than kill an enemy, computer simulations and animal models can only go so far. Right. I mean, you can experiment on a dog or whatever with directed energy weapons, with neuroweapons, but that doesn't tell you how a human's going to react, because a dog is not a human. I mean, that's just the most obvious thing in the world. So how could one go about on testing the weapons without violating human rights? They can't. They can't. They can't. They violated all of our human rights and more than that. A problem with the CIA LSD experiments was to test the drug on people when they did not know they were having it. Similarly, it would be important to know how people respond to neuroweapons not knowing they are attacked. Some of the neuroweapons could also result in permanently damaging the health of the test subjects. Yes, yeah, it does. The legal and practical obstacles with respect to conducting human experiments in the West are considerable in the West, which have led some to suggest that this might just happen in great secrecy. Yeah, I'm suggesting it is fact because I'm being experimented on. The people watching this video are being experimented on. Let's read that again. The legal and practical obstacles with respect to conducting human experiments in the West are considerable in the West. So if somebody says they're doing human experimentation, they're going to be liable for anything that happens to the people they're experimenting on. So, which have led some to suggest that this might just happen in great secrecy. So there's no liability, which we're going to try and make them liable. We're going to make them liable sometime in the future. But regardless of what the U.S. government does in this arena, it is obvious that there are many countries and even non-state actors that may have far less qualms. The United States has no qualms. The military-industrial complex is worse than any terrorist organization. Ooh, I better be careful about what I say in this video. I might get flagged again. I might be attacked with directed energy weapons. Okay, let me say it again. The military-industrial complex is worse than every terrorist agency, and most of them it's actually formed those terrorist organizations so that it can send weapons over and military over. Let me watch my words. It is obvious that there are many countries and even non-state actors that may have far less qualms about human experimentation and who might attempt to this way gain advantage over democratic states. Democratic states aren't going to let that happen. They're not going to let their fabled enemies get this technology. And then when they're finally found out, that's what they're going to say. They're going to say, if we didn't advance these weapons and murder these innocent American citizens, the terrorists would have got these weapons and one-upped us. I guarantee you that's what they're going to say. When we string them up by their feet. When we string them up by their feet and put tar all over them and tar and feather them and then do other bad stuff. Oh. This video brought to you by Glide Floss. Keep your teeth clean. Okay, proliferation. Unfortunately, the broad proliferation of neuroscience and technology to a wide range of state and non-state actors is a very likely scenario and is happening right now. He doesn't say it's happening right now as we speak and has been happening for a long time. As much neuroscience and technology is inherently dual use and mostly developed for medical purposes, is inherently dual use, mostly developed for medical purposes, which is not true. The majority of it is military-industrial complex, how to control people. A little bit trickles into the medical industry. A little tiny 15%, 10% to 15%. It would be difficult to deny countries advanced brain scanning and other neurotechnology on the grounds of national security. Much of the technology could be in reach for non-state actors and even private individuals. Neural devices such as BCIs and neural implants and prosthesis could become very widespread across society within a decade or less. Even some primitive directed energy weapon that target the brain or central nervous system do not in principle require resources that are beyond skilled individuals with moderate financial means. Currently, there are few indications of an ongoing global neuroscience technology arms race. Yes, that's true. However, several nations outside the West have recently made substantial investments in medical neuroscience research, namely Japan, India, Iran, and China. The 2008 National Research Council report also cautions there could be a rapid expansion and escalation in the neuroscience degradation market if an effective cognitive weapon was developed by one nation. And effective cognitive weapons have been developed by all the Five Eyes. So the fear of falling behind, the fear of falling behind in a crucial military technology era could make a neuroscience technology arms race a self-fulfilling prophecy. Jonathan Moreno believes the powers that can claim the advantage and establish a neurotechnology gap between themselves and their adversaries will establish both tactical and strategic advantages that can render them dominant in the 21st century. Up to now, the United States still has a clear lead in neuroscience and technology. I wonder how. If the advancement of neuroscience and technology is determined by that you're going to have to unethically experiment on citizens. So I wonder how they have a solid lead when this article is proposing that maybe they're not doing anything unethical. I got some oceanfront property in Arizona, if you believe that. All right, I haven't used that saying in a long time. But it is okay. So up to now, the United States still has a clear lead in neuroscience and technology, but it is foreseeable that others could catch up. The current global neuroscience technology market has been estimated to be 150 billion annually, with more rapid growth expected in Asia and Latin America, which could overtake the U.S. by 2020. James G. Adorno argues, oh, there's our go-to guy. I wonder why I spent so much time with him, because he's an advisor to the Pentagon on neurotechnology and neuroweapons. He knows what's going on, man. And they go to him for all these articles, and he even said that the Cuban embassy attack and the China consulate were neuroweapons, but those weren't in mainstream articles. They were more in science journals and Department of Defense funded journals and things like that. James G. Adorno argues, in this light, failing to initiate and maintain neuroscience and technology, research and development, is not acceptable because the USG will lose scientific as well as economic and arguably military advantage upon the 21st century world stage. I really like this presentation, because if you read this presentation and you look at the things that are concrete facts that he's presenting, it proves the theories. The concrete facts can only lead you to believe because it's true. The concrete facts of this article basically tell you that non-consensual human experimentation is going on, that what targeted individuals are saying is true. This proves it, because all of the provable things prove that which is provable anyway. You know, non-consensual human experimentation is going on. It's very obvious, but people don't want to believe it. But it's proven by all the provable things about it. If that makes sense. Moving on. It is well established that both Russia and China have researched unorthodox types of weapons that attack the human mind and nervous system in the past. A recent study by Sergei Kernbach from the Research Center for Advanced Robotics and Environmental Science in Stuttgart, Germany, shows that the Soviet Union has invested over $1 billion in psychic research and the development of so-called psychotronic weapons. It has been reported in the press that Russia's Ministry of Defense is funding the development of new types of electromagnetic anti-personnel weapons that could zombie people. Come here, boo-boo. Come here. Hey. I wanted y'all to see Pepper. Where was I here? Okay, that could zombie people or rather alter mental states and thereby degrade their ability to think and act straight. Yeah, yeah. I mean that's what targeted individuals are going through. We're not completely zombified, but man, when I get really hurt, the first couple of hours of my day, it's pretty close. It's pretty close to living like a zombie. Except eating brains. I usually don't eat a lot of brains. I usually only eat like one brain every morning. All right. Zach Lynch mentions in his book several Cold War era Russian research projects for the development of biochemical neuroweapons, such as Project Flute, which would be a neurotoxin that remains dormant until triggered by stress and then could damage the nervous system, alter moods, trigger psychological changes, and even kill. Military analyst Timothy Thomas has written more than a decade ago about the Chinese being interested in new concept weapons for human network attacks, which include infrasound weapons, lasers, microwave and particle beam weapons, and incoherent light sources. Given China's growing economic prowess and its investments in neuroscience research, which already alarmed the NRC back in 2008, and its ability to conduct human experimentation on a sufficient scale necessary for developing neuroweapons. Let's read that again. Given China's growing economic prowess and its investments in neuroscience research, which already alarmed the NRC back in 2008, and its ability to conduct human experimentation on a sufficient scale necessary for developing neuroweapons, the country could lead far ahead of the West. Apart from the conventional military threat by state actors, there could be also new security challenges on the horizon. You know what I've also thought about, guys? This is just me. This is just a thought that I'm throwing out there. You know, there's like there's a bunch of suicide forests in China. Were they talking about? Yeah, they're talking about China. There's a bunch of suicide forests in China, and you hear about many more suicides happening in China, and that kind of I've seen that over the last couple of years, and I wonder if they're just if maybe they are targeting more people than America in Russia, because it just seems like I don't know, we don't get a lot of information out of China, and a lot of information is blocked from going in there, and it seems like they would. I don't know, just a thought, but okay, new security threats. Let's see how far we have to go. That's still long. Still really long. Alright, let's get through it. New security threats. I guess it's not that much. Just my neck and stuff really hurt. Let me take a couple minute break, give y'all some dead air to think about what I've read about. I love these electronic cigarettes. I'm gonna have a hard time giving them up. I gotta do that though soon. They're so expensive. And like living on disability. Well, I'm not gonna get into that. I was thinking of something that I kind of wanted to talk about. I guess I'll just mention it because he made a video about it. And I'm really glad that he is making videos and fighting this. I mean, we need that kind of courage to just keep speaking out and let people know how important this is. But Steve, it's the Fear Jan Bray channel, and Steve speaks out a lot. He makes a lot of videos. He was saying something. I watched one of his videos that. He was saying, why aren't targeted individuals monetizing their channels? He was like, if they're not, he was kind of questioning, people that don't monetize their channels. And I do sometimes, like if I remember to, I'll monetize with the I was going to leave him a comment, but it was just such a long explanation. I monetize the first two little monetizations. I think it's like a banner ad and a side ad sometimes, if I remember to. But a lot of my monetizations, even with those little monetizations, have been demonetized. Like my article about when I not my article when I read the article about the China consulate worker, that was demonetized for some reason, and I didn't cuss or anything like that. But the main reason, sometimes I just don't remember to do it, and that's because I did kind of monetize my first videos when I started doing this, and I get like 200, 300 views or whatever. But you really, if you don't have like tens of thousands of views, you maybe make like $200 in a year. So I was like, okay, well, I could monetize every video, and even if I make like a video a week and it's like 300 views or whatever, and I'm two videos a week for a year, you still make about like $200 to $300 or something like that. It's not a lot. So I said, well, I'm living off a disability, and I said, well, if it's only like $200 a year, because you've got to be making like tens of thousands of views to really be seeing like monthly money, like $1,000 a month or something like that. So I was like, well, if the money's not really going to make that much of a difference in my life, and it's only a little bit of money, I'd rather have it without advertisements and stuff at the front and in between, so it would annoy y'all less. Because I get really annoyed, like when I watch a YouTube video and it has a lot of advertisements, like 10-minute videos with like 5 advertisements. I'm like, oh, and I gotta skip past them. So I was like, and there's a certain part of me that's kind of like doesn't feel right about doing it for some reason. I know that you guys wouldn't care, and more power to Steve for monetizing his videos. If it gives him a little bit of money to get through this, I'm all for that. And I don't think many people, would care. They'd be like, yeah, go ahead and monetize to make money off of this, stupid corrupt system anyway. That's taking us down or trying to take us down. But it's not like something. I don't know. Sometimes I'll monetize the two first things if I think about it, and I can't even get to my money. Like it's in YouTube or whatever, but I have to give some kind of bank routing number and information that I don't have. Like I have to give more. Like I have to find out some kind of information that I never found, so I can't even get to it. So I guess that's a big, complicated, rambling answer, but it's not because I'm a perp. It's not because I'm making money for doing this, and that's why I don't monetize my ad, because that's kind of what Steve was alluding to. He was kind of alluding to TIs that don't monetize their ads are probably getting paid elsewhere or something like that, which I am by, I'm getting paid from disability, and my parents kind of helped me out, but it was just never, like the kind of views that we get as target individuals, even if you get a couple of thousand views, the money is not life changing. It can't sustain you, but it could be some extra pocket money to buy things. I might in the future start monetizing all of my videos if people really start looking into it and I start getting thousands of views on all my videos. I might start doing it, but I don't know. I think. And Steve, if you're watching this, it's nothing against you, man. I like you putting out videos. You're a courageous guy. I see that you get horrible gang stalking at your place. I've seen a lot of those incidents, and it's good evidence, really good evidence. But I would stay away from like just saying, oh well, I monetize my videos, and the targeted individuals that don't monetize their videos, I'm questioning them for being from getting paid elsewhere. I don't think it's like that. And I think a lot of targeted individuals don't monetize their videos because they feel wrong about it. They feel like they want to get information out, and this is not to make money. It's more for helping people. Now, I would go ahead, and if I could make a lot of money off of this, I don't think you guys would mind. I think y'all would be like, yeah, go ahead. You're putting out good information. Go ahead and make money. But I would just say, Steve, if you are watching this, I wouldn't jump to those kind of conclusions, because there's a lot of reasons why people do things the way they do, and it's not always nefarious that they're perps or something like that. because I'm definitely not a perp. But if I remember to, I'll just monetize it like the first two, like the two little ones that don't really interfere with the video, and then a lot of mine are demonetized. So it's kind of made me just like, you know, why even do it? Because it's like $200 a year or something like that, maybe $300 a year. Even making tons of videos. But more power to him for doing that. And you know, he's speaking out and he's fighting, and that, you know, that's awesome. You know, that's awesome. I think you're doing a great job, Steve. I know you're really you know, this makes us paranoid. It makes us paranoid and like who's real, who's a fake TI. But you know, I think that we should all be careful about that, because I think the deal is, as targeted individuals, we can't really reach our attackers to hold them to justice. So we're kind of reaching to what's the closest, and that's other targeted individuals. So we need to be careful. I'm not saying there isn't COINTELPRO. There definitely is. But just be really careful in discerning how you act and react to COINTELPRO, because you may be attacking a real targeted individual who's trying to help people, and that's a really tragic thing. It's a really tragic thing, and I think that comes from not being able to hold our attackers accountable. We reach out to the closest thing, which is targeted individuals who may say something different from us, may have a different experience. So I would just be careful about it. Everybody should be careful about that. But I applaud Steve for fighting, and he keeps fighting. He keeps fighting. All right, so I'm gonna move on. I just wanted to mention that, like, I do monetize my videos if I remember to, but the smallest amount that I can. And I don't think it's a big deal. You know, I may start doing it in the future. I've done it before, monetizing, you know, every kind of monetization I could get, but then I kind of found out that if you don't get 10,000 views or more, it's not money that you can really live on. So I decided not to, you know. All right. So new security threats. Neuroscience technology will lead to the emergence of some entirely new and non-traditional security threats. Amongst them, new challenges to state secrecy and new forms of terrorism. Adversaries might try to remotely monitor the mental processes of leaders or other people of interest. Remotely monitor the mental processes. Okay, it's not that long. Cool. Okay, developing computer models of their minds could enable adversaries to predict their behavior and decisions. Captured personnel could be forced to reveal secrets by scanning their brains or by hacking their brain implants. Since all electronic devices can be in principle hacked, there is no reason to believe that neural devices would be any different. A hacker could remotely hack into brain implants and thereby possibly access and alter the mental states, emotions, thoughts, and memories of people. Unless extensive precautions are taken, nobody could be safe from having their mental processes monitored and potentially being remotely influenced. In the 1950s, the CIA tried to create Manchurian candidates who could be programmed to carry out any mission without their knowledge or consent. In its Project Artichoke, the CIA tried drugs, hypnosis, electroshocks, and sensory deprivation, also in combination, but was ostensibly unsuccessful. More advanced methods of behavioral modification could make the programmable and unwitting assassin a reality. Long before the CIA became interested in mind control, religious cults and radical political groups have used brainwashing techniques for radicalizing and manipulating their members. You know, I think like the Jim Jones cult was a CIA experiment. I think that was a complete CIA experiment to see what they could get people to do, and then they were using drugs and things on people within the cult, like Jim Jones on the cult. And if you notice pictures with Jim Jones, he has all these monkeys as pets, and he experimented on those monkeys too. So I think he was definitely a CIA asset. And I think he made everybody commit suicide by drinking that crap. all that poison. Some people escaped, but he wasn't going to ever drink it. He tried to escape and was killed by another CIA asset that the CIA sent to do specifically that after he made everybody commit suicide. Look more into that. Well, it's depressing to look into, so maybe don't look into it. Commit program. There are already indications that terrorist groups are brainwashing and indoctrinating children, who are then used for suicide bombings in Afghanistan and elsewhere. Some jihadis are self-radicalized, using the internet as a remote brainwashing tool. The psychiatrist Peter Olson suggests that many repeated watching of jihadist websites for hour after hour could be similar to self-hypnosis with post-hypnotic suggestion towards violent action. While the brainwashing techniques used by radical religious and political groups are known to be working, but are time-consuming and expensive, terrorist groups and cults might be looking for a shortcut that can be more quickly and effectively turn ordinary people into terrorists, willing to give up their lives for the cause or to allow themselves to be enslaved. Neuroscience and technology could provide potentially... Man, this is poorly written. Neuroscience and technology could potentially provide them with such tools. This could make it extremely difficult to identify terrorists or assassins beforehand, since anybody could be turned unwittingly and unknowingly. Terrorist acts that have been programmed into unwitting individuals might be incorrectly described as lone wolf terrorism, which means that connections to the real perpetrators are potentially missed and the nature of the threat remains misunderstood. These kinds of manipulations would certainly require the kind of technology that only states could have the resources to develop. That's a good point. However, there are also much more primitive neuroweapons that could be easily in reach for even amateur terrorists. But the thing is, like a lot of people say, like some target individuals say, like, oh, it's some crack addicts down the street that got a hold of these weapons. But let's use our common sense here. This is something that's attached to us. It's a bidirectional stream of energy that does remote, and like we get external hits and stuff like that. But the stuff that's 24 hours a day, like V2K, like remote neural monitoring, remote neural manipulation, it's not going to be some people who grab some primitive directed energy weapons, because they're going to have no way of looking through walls to target it, and especially to target it for 24 hours. I really do, like, and I know a lot of people are just like, hey, some crack addicts or some single individual got their hands on this and they're just torturing me every day and it's been 10 years or whatever. I don't agree with those things. I agree that maybe some people are used to use ground weapons as supplement, but if you're being attacked and you've been attacked for so long and you have remote neural monitoring, remote neural manipulation, you have V2K, and it's ongoing for a decade or more, that's part of an organized program where they're getting paid. That's just what I've researched, and it's not really, it doesn't seem like an opinion to me, but I guess people who don't agree with me, you can just say it's my opinion. It doesn't seem like an opinion to me. It seems like research, what I've gone through, adding in common sense. This is, if you are being attacked with some of the more sophisticated ones that seem like it'd be hard for somebody to just target through a wall, like 24-hour-a-day bidirectional stream of energy doing all these things, it's part of an organized program where the people are getting paid. And they have, because individuals would not have access to some of these methods of targeting, like satellite to cell tower, then to our brain and nervous system. Like anybody can, if you do disagree or agree, please comment. That's kind of what I wanted. I may do a live stream where I just go through some of y'all's comments, because I do read them, but I don't always leave a response. That's a good idea. I might do that. Okay, however, blah, blah, blah. There are also much more primitive neuroweapons that could be easily in reach for even amateur terrorists. There are growing concerns about DIY, do-it-yourself high-energy radio frequency weapons built from modified microwave ovens that could be used for covertly attacking neighbors by exposing them to unhealthy electromagnetic radiation. More and more cases of electronic harassment, like James Walbert, make it to court and indicate this is already an issue for society to which legislation, courts, and law enforcement needs to respond to. I agree. Neurosecurity. It's still a long way to go, huh? Alright, I really want to finish up this this article. Okay, was I right there? No. Neurosecurity, okay. Alright. I don't know. I mean, on the monetizing our videos, maybe that's how it was like 5 years ago, because I started making videos 5 years ago and I was fully monetizing them, and it was just like $200. Maybe it was like $200 every half year. It may be different though. You may make more money nowadays doing it. I don't know, because I couldn't get it out. Like I still have that. I still have like I think $300 in some account connected to YouTube, but I need some kind of Google thing, not a password, but some kind of Google thing that I can't. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm just dumb. I don't think I'm dumb. I think I'm pretty smart. I might. I don't know. I might look into that. He's kind of got me thinking about that. Steve's got me thinking about that. Why not monetize them? Maybe just not. I don't think I'd do the one where it's like a advertisement every once in a while. Like if you make a 10-minute video, it's like 5 advertisements that you gotta skip through. I do like every one besides that. I don't know. Kind of got me thinking about it, but I do think that especially because my case, I don't monetize them, and it has nothing to do with me getting paid to make these videos or anything like that. I mean, that's I don't know. I kind of think about that sometimes. I'm like, are there fake TIs on YouTube? I know there are fake TIs. I know there's COINTELPRO, but I don't know. I'm trying to think, and I guess it's obvious that maybe they would, that maybe maybe the military-industrial complex would put out misinformation or something like that. But I don't like all the YouTube videos that I've seen with targeted individuals. I never think that they're COINTELPRO. Some people from the conference calls I think are COINTELPRO. Some people that I've talked to I think are COINTELPRO. I know that it's out there. But I look at YouTube and all the videos, and I can't, nothing comes to mind where I'm just like, that's a misinformation agent. That's somebody getting paid to do this. I see some people who I don't think are targeted, and they start saying they're gang stalking. I see some people who think that everybody's gang stalking them when they're not. I see people who are getting hit very hard and targeted very hard. They might say things that I don't agree with. That's not research very great, but is kind of theories that they're coming up with all the time because they're in agony and distress, and they're hey, I figured it out or something like that. But I don't see anybody who I'm like, I can't think of anybody offhand that I'm just like, that person's misinformation, But I'm gonna kind of get off of that subject. I guess I want you to know, Steve, I'm definitely not. I'm definitely a real targeted individual, and I don't monetize my videos just because I do sometimes. A lot of them have been demonetized, and I didn't think you could make a lot of money with it. So, and there was a little part of me, I guess a pretty big part, that was kind of like, that's wrong. Like a little, like 50% part of me that was like, monetizing my videos when people need this information to survive. It just feels wrong to me, even though it's not. Like, I know because all the people that come watch my videos and stuff, y'all be like, go ahead and monetize them. We don't care. It just felt, I don't know, it just felt kind of gross to me a little bit. At the beginning it did. When I did it, I was like, should I be monetizing my videos? But now it's like, I think everybody's like, make money off of YouTube if you can. No big deal. Okay, neurosecurity. And I'm going to go ahead and take a drink break when I just said the title. And but he's making a lot. Steve's making a lot of videos. He makes sometimes makes like 3 videos a day. Short videos. He's doing. I mean, he's just speaking out is good, and he has some theories that I don't agree with. But a lot of people have theories that I don't agree. Brian too has some theories that I don't agree with. And I think that, and Steve, if you're watching this, I'm definitely not picking on you. I'm saying good job making videos and putting information out, because I've seen you show gang stalking incidents that are just definitely, they stand out. And it's like even a person that's not targeted would say, yeah, that's gang stalking, like that huge black vehicle or whatever. But I'm not going to say that. I'm just saying, let me say something in general. When you don't react like hardcore to gang stalking, it slows down a lot. And I think me and Steve disagree on this, because he's like, go after it. I'd say definitely video record it. But like I think we kind of differ on that. I say, don't react to it in like an angry way or whatever, because then they're going to have more justification to keep doing it if they can get some kind of emotional reaction out of you. Definitely record it, but try and keep your cool. Don't internalize it, and kind of just go past it. Go to the people who are not targeting you. I'm not saying that Steve's doing anything wrong. He's getting targeted so hard, so he's doing everything he can, and that's all any of us are doing. I'm sure sometimes I'm on my videos and I'm very anxious and stuff like that, and I say some stuff that maybe is stupid, or I cuss and stuff like that. So I'm not saying Steve's doing anything wrong. All of us have things that people disagree on. So I guess that's one. He's doing a good job. He's showing a lot of gang stalking. I guess Steve, if you're watching this, it's like that light thing. The guy who has that light on all the time, and you've focused on that a lot. You even have in your description section, you have like the stuff about light pollution being against the law. But what I would do in that circumstance, and dude, some of this stuff gets annoying, so I'm not saying, like, I'm definitely not, you're doing you're putting videos out, you're courageous, and you're fighting, and I love it. I love that. But I'm saying maybe with that light thing, go to those neighbors, say, look, when I walked into my driveway, that thing's coming on, y'all need to turn it off, you need to, change the setting on it so that when I come out to the end of my driveway, it doesn't come on. And if they don't do it, but going and maybe taking videos of it all the time, it's maybe getting them to keep doing it. Because I do think that's gang stalking. I don't know. It's just an opinion. It's just an opinion, man. And you do what you want to do, and you keep speaking out, because I know you're a real targeted individual, and I know you're fighting and everything like that. It's just like sometimes you react to things and you focus on them, and I've noticed when I do that, because I've done that. I still do that. I still do that a lot with a lot of things. When I focus on things and it really bothers me, they keep doing it more. They keep doing it more. So I don't know. Take that for whatever you will, but you're doing a great job, man. You're doing a great job. And also, like, I mean, I know you're like for all the real TIs and the fake TIs. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you're doing a good job. I know that this can make all of us think that certain people aren't TIs and whatever. So I don't know what to say about that. I guess it's something that's just going to happen. All right. So, but I just want to say, keep going, man, and people go watch his videos. Have fear of Jan Bray. I think it was some kind of just a joke. It used to be have no fear, but then he changed it. But he's fighting, man. He's fighting. I would really encourage everybody, and Steve, use the grounding. Try Dave Case's CD, because I know you're getting remote neural manipulation, remote neural monitoring. And all right, I'll stop talking to you, Steve. But I just want to say you're doing a good job. And if anything sounds like advice, it's just to be helpful. And I have a lot of things that I need help with too. So it's not criticism. I'm not criticizing. Okay, let's just move on. I do that all the time. I did it with Jeremiah Cohen, and it happens with people that I care about. Like if it's people that I see, they have a lot of potential with their videos, and I watch their videos, and I'm like, okay, well maybe, maybe with that light thing, just don't focus on it so much because they're gonna keep doing it to you. It's like I have those kind of feelings, and then it comes out on my videos sometimes. But people that I talk about know that it's generally because I like what you're doing. I like your strength. I like how you're getting information out. Probably a lot of people respond to you. So it's good. It's good if I talk about you in my videos. It's not. It's never criticism, unless I say it is. Unless there's somebody that I really hate, and then I'll tell y'all, hey, I really hate this person. But it's not in Jeremiah's case and Steve's case. It's definitely not that. Definitely, and Steve too. He's been making videos for a long time, and he's gone through so much shit. And I can tell that they're hitting him with directed energy weapons really hard. And Steve, use some of my defensive methods. Use grounding. Use Dave Case's CD, please. It really works. And some other things that I'm going to go over in this video. All right, Steve, I'll stop talking about you, but it's only because I admire your strength. I admire your courage. So let me continue. Neurosecurity. The coming age of neurowarfare necessitates the development of a new concept of security or a new overall strategy for dealing with some of the threats and challenges that come with greater knowledge of the brain and neuroscience and technology. Jonathan Moreno has proposed the term neurosecurity in his 2006 book. So I guess Jonathan Moreno is somebody I'm going to need to get his books too. If I can read. Well, y'all can tell I can read because I'm reading this. Which refers to both to the ways that science and technology targeted at the brain and nervous system should be managed for the public good, and the means that democratic states must develop to protect themselves from their adversaries. This final section aims to develop further some of Moreno's ideas for neurosecurity, to evaluate the defensive options and to sketch measures that can be taken for the benefit of national security and the security of society and individuals. Okay, neurosecurity and neuroethics. According to Moreno, neurosecurity should be guided by neuroethics, which James Giordano talks a lot about, which would have to achieve a balance between the demands of national security and individual liberties to deal with the new threats to public safety and security. And that would be great. If there were any ethics involved in this, that would be awesome. I would love that. I would love that if James Giordano could, convince the Pentagon that to use some ethics in this instead of murdering my family and y'all's families. Targeting us for 24 hours a day, trying to do it for our lifespans. That'd be great. That'd be great if they could find some ethics, maybe a conscience. Maybe it's a conscience. That'd be good. He acknowledges that the great secrecy surrounding the development of neuroweapons is a challenge for maintaining democratic accountability. Society will not be able to have a meaningful discussion about neuroethics if the relevant technologies and their true capabilities remain secret. Moreno discusses in this context the secret Soviet bioweapons program, which had been hidden in a civilian research organization named Biopreparat. Okay. So hiding them in organizations and businesses, hiding this research, and that's what our country does too. There is the concern that a similarly large neuroweapons program could be concealed under the guise of biomedical research, which could result in severe breaches of ethical standards, which it is, for example, with respect to involuntary human experimentation, which they are. In addition, there is the problem that neuroethics, which is a subfield of bioethics, is a relatively young area of philosophic inquiry. It grew out of the ethical concerns of several neuroscientists with respect to the societal impact and uses of their work, who founded the International Neuro-ethics Society in 2006. Up to now, there is no overall consensus with respect to many key ethical issues, such as interventions in the brain or the monitoring of mental processes. Tampering with the human mind raises some very fascinating... Oh, it's all fascinating. Tampering with the human mind non-consensually, it's all very fascinating. So interesting. That's what I say to that. That's what I say to this. It's fascinating. I wasn't flipping you guys off. I was flipping that fascinating part off. Okay, seriously, I was not flipping you guys off. As well as very troubling ethical questions that any advanced democratic society will have to confront relatively soon. James G. Adorno and Rachel Wurzman have pointed out neurotechnology can be used to create weapons that may have unprecedented capacity to alter cognitions, emotions, beliefs, and behaviors of individuals and groups, if not societies. Some of the questions are, should soldiers be forced to take drugs that cognitively enhance them, or accept invasive or non-invasive neural devices that monitor their brains and that could exercise some level of control over their mental states? Under what circumstances can it be permissible to invade the privacy of other people's minds? Never. When would it be permissible to use mind-altering, non-lethal neuroweapons? Never. Should it be allowed to target civilians with such weapons in an effort to win their hearts and minds in counterinsurgencies? I'd say no. Is it permissible to drive enemy combatants into despair and suicide? I'd say that's cowardice. Should it be permissible to direct neuroweapons against entire societies to promote desirable behavior, or for engineering society to cope with challenging problems like environmental degradation or terrorism? I'd say that's the end of personal freedoms and just free will. It's the end of free will. What we are here on earth for, what God created us for, is to make free decisions and have free will. It's basically going against God. Not basically, it is going against God. And using a technology in this abhorrent way, in this irresponsible way, is basically spitting in, or trying to spit in God's face, because they can never spit in God's face. And God will, and you will see in society and in this world how God basically shows how this is wrong because of the things that's going to come out of it. It's wrong to use it in these ways. Many of these questions need to be carefully discussed by neuroscientists and ethicists in order to develop an effective legal framework that restrains governments and corporations from using neuroscience and technology in an unethical manner. There are already a range of legal issues and concepts that come with the use of neuroweapons, which have been raised by the Royal Society report. Where was it? Some neuroweapons could already violate existing international law. For example, biochemical neuroweapons may violate the Chemical Weapons Convention or the Biological and Toxin Weapons Convention. Stephen White has also questioned the legality of brain-machine interface weapons because they could undermine existing international law and legal standards. For example, it could be possible for a prosecutor investigating war crimes to prove that a soldier whose brain controlled a weapons system with a BCI has willfully killed non-combatants and would be guilty of a war crime, since Western legal standards have always distinguished between thought and action. Oh, that's weird. Let me read that again. Stephen White has also questioned the legality of brain-machine interface weapons because they could undermine existing international law and legal standards. For example, it could be impossible for a prosecutor investigating war crimes to prove that a soldier whose brain controlled a weapons system with a BCI has willfully killed non-combatants and would be guilty of a war crime, since Western legal standards have always distinguished between thought and action. See, that's crap. That's bull crap. That whole premise is bull crap, because it doesn't matter what tool you use. You can use a hammer to bash somebody's head in, or you can sit there at a, like my attackers are sitting at a remote platform and think a person to death, because it's actually a frequency that's killing them. It's not your thoughts that aren't, it's actions. It's that active tool that is killing somebody. So that's all null. That is null. Any tool that can kill and you kill somebody with it, it's murder. It's murder. People can't dance out of this like they want to. Before any neuroweapons are introduced and transition to the battlefield, the legal and ethical concerns have to be addressed, including concerns about their potential use in a domestic and law enforcement context. as well as the question of force enhancement and treatment. And they haven't been addressed, and they're still using them on innocent civilians all over the world. However, more difficult than the regulation of the use of neuroweapons by governments is the second aspect of neurosecurity, which is neurodefense. And this is what we've got to think about a lot. So we can neurally defend ourselves, which, you know, a lot of people are finding a lot of different ways. And I think I found another way. I might not go into it. I might finish up this article because it's taken a while, and then go over that next time. Make a whole video about this and look at some options that we have, and then I'll go about kind of researching and experimenting with some of them. Neurosecurity and neurodefense. Considering the problem of dual-use applications and the fact that many neurotechnologies could be in reach for many actors, it is inevitable that proliferation will occur and that adversarial and nefarious actors will be tempted to use the new powerful technology. It cannot be expected that all relevant actors will play by the rules, even if it was possible for all governments of the world to agree on a legal framework for the use of neurotechnology in a national security context. This means that steps have to be taken to actively defend against future attacks by adversaries with neuroweapons, maybe even before any are developed or deployed. Neurowarfare attacks could be directed against individuals, groups, or society as a whole. A wide range of different technologies could be employed by a range of actors against a variety of targets with different aims. It follows that defenses need to be multi-layered and multifaceted. There are 4 general security strategies that can be considered in the context of developing a doctrine of neurodefense: detection, deterrence, reaction, and adaptation. I'd say those are important for targeted individuals experiencing this. Detection, detect what's going on, detect what's coming at you. Deterrence, deter it, you know, passive shielding, Dave Case's CD, you know, grounding, reaction, I'm not sure what that means, and adaptation, we all know what that means. This section will briefly discuss each one of them. Detection. Successful neurosecurity requires the ability to accurately detect attacks. Maybe he's secretly trying to help target individuals with this presentation, because he's going through, maybe he's like trying to get the information out and not saying certain things but saying them. I kind of wonder about these guys sometimes, and if they know what they can't say and they know what they can say, maybe they're trying to help us and stop this. What do you guys think? Tell me in the comments, you know. Detection. Successful neurosecurity requires the ability to accurately detect attacks so that one can respond. This would mean the development of a new discipline of neuroforensics. Neuroforensics. I think targeted individuals, we're basically inventing neuroforensics, or we're developing an angle that, you know, the mainstream military industrial complex is not thinking about because we have to survive, you know. At the moment, it is unclear how neuroforensics could look like, but it would have to comprise of a great variety of disciplines and technologies, including cybersecurity, brain monitoring and scanning, and the detection of anti-personnel due and biochemical agents. If attacks are directed against a single individual, it could, God, this is written. I'm going to read it like they typed it, okay? I'm going to try to. It's going to be hard. It could be particularly difficult, if not possible, for the individual to understand that they may be influenced or mind controlled. For example, members of religious cults always reject the notion that they may have been brainwashed. I see that as a big problem with targeted individuals, maybe even myself on some things. On some things, I know that I'm being affected, but there may be things that I'm missing and I'm being affected. I talk to a lot of targeted individuals. They don't think that this is happening to them, but I can sort of tell sometimes that it is. This is a huge thing. Realizing how you're being affected by remote neural manipulation. Even I'm not perfect, even though I'm like a perfect specimen of human being. Maybe not perfect on this one. And I'm just joking about that. The brain simply has no mechanism to detect covert mind manipulation. Well, we do. We know who we are. You know, having Crohn's disease when I was younger really helps too, because I was very conscious of my body, conscious of how I was, and I started becoming very, very self-aware, even too self-aware. What's that thing where you're self-conscious? and that's kind of helped me a lot with this, knowing who I am exactly. But some part of the time, the 10 years that I didn't know I was targeted, remote neural manipulated could have changed me, and I wasn't aware of that. So when I knew I was being targeted, it's helped then. In the past, psychiatrists who have studied brainwashing techniques have advised governments and courts about whether individuals have been brainwashed or not, as in the famous Patty Hearst case. In the future, brain scanning methods might enable neuroscientists to exactly determine whether a brain has been manipulated or otherwise interfered with. I'd say that the DTI with the white matter tracks being messed up would be a huge clue, and I think that mine have. Still, I haven't been working on getting in touch with the University of Penn, but I do want them to look at my DTI, because I know that my white matter tracks have been changed. So I think that's going to be a huge one. It's just neurologists have to know what they're looking at, which my neurologist who looked at that either didn't know what they were doing, or it was medical COINTELPRO, and they didn't want to interfere in what was going on. Okay, deterrence. If it was impossible to prevent proliferation of neuroweapons, it could still be possible to deter their use by certain actors. Similarly to cyber warfare, it could be difficult to detect attacks and to trace them back to their true origin. Adversaries could be able to successfully conceal their neuro-warfare capabilities, carry out attacks covertly, or make it seem that other parties are responsible. Therefore, quick and accurate detection capabilities will be key to successful deterrence. It could be more difficult to deter non-state actors, as attacks directed against individuals rather than groups or societies might go undetected for a long time. It's really difficult to deter state actors. Our military-industrial complex, we've been trying to deter them and stop this, and it's very difficult. Nobody seems to want to believe that it's happening. Okay. As they would not produce against individuals rather than groups or societies might go undetected for a long time, as they would not produce an effect that is immediately visible. Deterrence would also require some neuro-warfare doctrine that spells out what kind of retaliatory action would follow an attack. What kind of threat of a retaliatory action can be plausible for a successful deterrence? For example, under what kind of circumstances should a nuclear counterattack be considered? Reaction. I'm not sure what reaction means. Alright, we're almost to the end, guys. And if you're really, I don't know, I'm reading information and editorializing, because that's kind of what I can do now. And I guess I was just going to say comment if this annoys you. I'll probably keep doing it, though, because it just helps keep my mind going, and it's a good way for me to research, because I have so much ADD. I don't do a lot of research on my own. I basically do the research on these videos. I do some other research, but yeah, I'll try and do some other stuff besides just reading stuff. I guess I have. Only when something's very important do I read through the whole thing. So forget that. Only comment that you love what I do, that you love these videos, and I'm the smartest man you've ever seen in your life. You don't have to comment that. I won't make y'all comment that. Like my thyroid on this side is just like puffed up so much, it's annoying me. I can like feel it all in here. Ugh. I tried to do smoke ring. I did, actually. I don't know how to do that. Okay, reaction. If an attack cannot be deterred, one has to consider how to react to the attack when it does occur. I guess that's pretty important. One could respond by destroying whatever weapon systems is conducting the attack, or by targeting the enemy's command center controlling the attack. I've thought of that. I've thought about I'm not going to do anything violent, but I've thought about we need to find out where they're doing this from, if it's the contractor's buildings, and not do anything. Not do anything. If we all get together and people know about this and we have like a civil war over it, then we would go to those contractors and we like take them over and get all the information, you know. I think that'd be a good idea. I'm not going to do anything on my own, but hey, I have to warn you, and if my psychiatrist is watching this, if I get an army, you better watch out. I'm kind of just joking, guys. I don't know what I do until the circumstances present themselves, which they might in the future, hopefully. Hopefully this will go away peacefully, but we got to plan for whatever comes, you know. Shh. All right. An intuitive solution would be also a response in kind. The response would mirror the attack in type and damage caused. A neuro-weapons attack on a society, e.g. a neuro-subversion or attempt to steer the emotions, mental states of a society, would be answered with a similar type of attack on the enemy society. This obviously raises the more fundamental question whether such action directed against mostly innocent people would be an ethically appropriate response, which it wouldn't, obviously. It's obvious. They don't have to ask these ethical questions because we've learned these things. You don't murder innocent people. You don't torture innocent people. You don't experiment on innocent people. It's morally wrong. These things are obvious, and now there's this new discussion of, is torturing a person non-consensually unethical? I mean, we gotta ask this question. All these new, can I just go kill somebody? Is it immoral? You know, the military-industrial complex is just going to come up with a whole new line of thought and research where it's like, oh, killing people randomly, that's not immoral. Don't take that out of context either. I was saying it because of this. I'm not saying that it's moral. I think it's unmoral. Obviously, because I'm being murdered by this stuff. Another possibility would be to choose an asymmetric strategy for responding to the attack, aimed at attacking whichever is most valuable to the adversary. Adaptation. In the long run, militaries and societies will have to adapt to the threat of neuroweapons by taking extensive protection measures that reduce the enemy's ability to use them effectively. Again, considering the wide range of technologies that could be used for neuroweapons, defensive strategies must be multifaceted. Timothy Thomas famously pointed out that the mind has no firewall. However, it would have to be a necessary to engineer something like a firewall for the human mind. I think that's a great idea. For example, neural devices need to be designed from the beginning with security in mind. Relevant technology needs to be domestically and internationally controlled. Security services, law enforcement, and courts need to be sufficiently informed about the existence of potential neuroweapons technologies and need to be trained to investigate possible nefarious uses of such technology. That would be great, because then we would all have an avenue to get help. Targeted individuals who are being experimented on, and we kind of just have to, grin and bear it. We could have help if judges and law enforcement and everybody would be aware of this, but because it's the military-industrial complex and DHS and cops are actually involved in gang stalking, that's not happening. We're just being killed. Where was I? The minds of soldiers and of potential leaders might need to be shielded against attempts of remote influencing and remote mind control. I bet you they are. We need to find out their techniques of doing it. Because I'm sure generals and stuff like that, they have some kind of device they put on their head or something. I'm sure they have something that's 100% effective with blocking these frequencies. And as they, I mean like the military-industrial complex and certain leaders. More ambitiously, societies might even try to shape the neuroecology in a way that reduces opportunities for nefarious manipulation. These will be great challenges, but they are not insurmountable. Well, it's already insurmountable because the good guys who are supposed to cut down on nefarious uses are the ones nefariously using this technology. So it's already insurmountable. We'll still beat it anyway. Okay, conclusion. Neuroscience and technology is on the verge of transforming warfare in very fundamental ways. Nations might attempt to conquer the neurospace, a hypothetical space where consciousness connects with the real world, which would be the ultimate domain of warfare from where all other domains, land, sea, air, space, cyberspace, could be theoretically dominated. Considering the enormous breakthroughs in neuroscience, neurowarfare is not a half century away. It's here, but let me read what he's saying. Is not a half century away as Moreno suggests, but could arrive a lot sooner, as in it already arrived like a long time ago, and a lot of people are suffering because of this crap. Without doubt, or our increasing understanding of the brain will lead to many unprecedented challenges and dangers. Neuroweapons will spread. They will be misused. Yes, they are being misused. And they will lead to new security threats. But it is important to keep in mind that while neuroweapons that could influence or even control the behavior of enemies may appear for now to be the perfect or ultimate weapons, it will also be possible to defend against them. Yes, it is possible to defend against them. They might be getting information from us as we're trying to survive. I've thought about that a lot, how my attackers may be collecting data on like what I'm doing to counteract it, and that's why they keep coming on so strong. They don't just go away when you defend it, because they're like, okay, let's see if we can get past that defense, let's see what else will do, and then they can learn more about defense too from us guinea pigs. And we're guinea pigs with knives, I tell you, we're guinea pigs with guns and knives. I'm just joking. I'm not actually going insane. Maybe a little bit. Maybe I'm going insane a little bit. Okay, most likely many ideas for successful neurosecurity and defense can be learned from both biosecurity and cybersecurity. It will be possible to master these challenges. However, more important than neurodefense will be for society and decision makers to figure out how to use neuroscience and technology for the betterment of humanity, not the destruction of humanity, rather than for the perpetuation of human conflict and warfare, while not at the same time crushing individual freedom and autonomy. I hope we can do that. I hope. Because that's not what's happening now. We have to think carefully about neuroethics before rushing into an age of unrestrained neurowarfare, which they're not. They've already rushed into it headlong. Every military-industrial complex, like every country, is rushing headlong into it, and they don't give a shit about ethics. The end. See, this bibliography might be very, very useful here. Brain-to-brain interface. Brain-to-brain interface. So guys, come and check out, it's a PDF on web.isanet.org. Come and check it out. And I'm going to go back to the top real quick. That's an extensive bibliography, and I'll be looking at some of those resources. So this was by Armin Krishnan, paper to be presented at the ISSS conference in Austin, November 14 through 16, 2014. His number is on there. It's on the screen right now. I'm probably going to call him either today or tomorrow, and then I'll kind of let you know what he said. But I guess some of you are probably going to get his number and call him. Cool. We need to call these people. We need to see how they can help us. We need to see if they can speak out against this and help us in any way, because I'm pretty sure they know. Like this guy, I'll call him. He'll be like, yeah, I know that's going on. He knew that when he wrote this, probably. Okay, guys, I think that's going to kind of wrap it up for this video. Please, I'm going to say this in a very unironic way. Please like, share, and subscribe, especially if you're a targeted individual. Let's get this information up into the algorithms as we can. I know it's pretty, a lot of us, even people that get like thousands and thousands of views, it's still kind of at the bottom. But let's try and get it up there. Give targeted individual videos views if you're a targeted individual. If you're not a targeted individual, please give these videos views and likes and subscribes, so we can get this information out, so it can just go up and higher and out and create way more awareness to a lot of people. And then I'm going to save this for the next video, guys. I was going to go through it on this one, but this is I'm trying to find the focus. It's for like video gamers to make them more focused. for direct cranial stimulation, and TENS unit is what it's called. Mike would talk about TENS units, and he used a TENS unit, I think, on the body and on his head. And these are direct cranial stimulation devices. I'm going to look into them. I might go through a couple of these on the next video. That might be something fun to do for a live stream, so I might do that. And I'm going to... they're really expensive. They're very expensive. I'll try and find some that maybe are not super expensive. Focus V2 TES brain stimulator with 3x3 Computron. Let's see how much that is on Amazon. $169.99. Apex. No. Maybe I can ask my mom to get me that for Christmas. Focus V2 TES brain stimulator with 3x3 Computron starter kit. What does it do? How does it work? What is it? Is it you gotta hook it to your head or something? Or you just put it by you and it puts out healthy frequencies? Okay, well, I'll go over that on the next video, guys. Let me see if I can get that off my screen. Cause how do I? Okay. All right, guys. So I'll go over some of those on my next video, and I love you guys. I hope you're finding comfort. I'm just trying to get some of this information out. It's very concrete. They talk about neuroweapons and neurotechnology, and then they say, well, maybe experimentation's going on. Because they can't say, yes, our government's definitely doing this experimentation, they're definitely being unethical. Nobody can say that. Everybody's silenced who knows about this, because they'll get targeted or worse, or just killed if they say stuff. And please speak out. I think I do get attacked. Like after the last one, after talking about direct cranial stimulation, they fried my brain like while I was doing that. And then they hit me really hard the night after. Was that yesterday or the day before? They hit me really hard, but this is true what I'm going to say to you. Damned if we do, damned if we don't. And I'm not talking about damned like we're not going to beat this, we're not going to, things aren't going to get better for us. I'm talking about activism or not activism. Like taking no action, you're damned. They're still going to target you. They're going to target you worse in the long run. And it's going to hurt a little bit more when you do activism. They're going to hit you a little bit more, but you're going to get a lot out of it. You're going to feel like you're making a change and a difference. You're going to feel more productive. You're going to feel like more like a human being and like you're doing what's right. And it's going to help you emotionally. It's going to help you to feel better. It really helps me to feel a lot better. It's helped me to get through this, to be doing some of this. So kind of take that to heart, guys. I know a lot of you guys, like Steve, like I talked about him, he's doing tons of work. He's putting out videos. He's doing what he can. There's a lot more people, Charles Hall, Brian too, Ella, Dr. Horton, everybody, like tons of people. Romola D and Karen Stewart. But let's all just get out. Let's all push this cart together, or push this rock. We got this rock that was stuck in place. And now we're seeing movement. We're seeing this rock going back and forth, and it's about to start rolling. Maybe it's already rolling, kind of, and it's gonna go down the hill, and then it's gonna go off of a ramp, and then do flip, and then splash into a lake, and then in something else. All right, guys. I love y'all, and I'll see y'all on the next one. Please stay strong. I guess I might ask my mom for this for Christmas because it's way too expensive for me. I don't even know if she has enough money to get me something like this for Christmas. I don't even know how it looks really small for $3.99. But I'm going to go through some of that on the next video, guys. Alright, thanks for watching. And I love you guys, and I'll see you on the next one, okay?